Greetings everyone. This PowerPoint presentation is about American xenophobia and immigration. My colleagues and I are going to focus on Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. The outline of this presentation consists of an introduction, definition of xenophobia, xenophobic nation versus melting pot nation, shut-door policy, Chinese exclusion, and finally, a conclusion that consists of suggestions or general solutions for xenophobia. By immigration, we mean the movement of people living in one country into another. And though immigration is a fundamental aspect of human history, it was as controversial hundreds of years ago as it is today. It is no secret that the United States of America is mainly built and based on immigration. The first settlers were hunter-gatherers that came to North America from the North Asia Mammoth Steppe via the Bering Land Bridge. The U.S. government finds immigration a controversial issue. Thus, it made immigration control laws, which may open doors to xenophobia in this country. Our present work is about American xenophobia and immigration. Looking at the xenophobia during the American history, we denote that it has always existed in parallel of the welcoming country to all sorts of immigrants. America being an immigrant state, apart Native Americans and African slaves, it had to be more friendly with other coming people to the new land. Before becoming a state, the 13 colonies were immigrant communities that fled from persecution in Europe, which were based on religious conflicts and social class discrimination that would produce a fear from all kinds of differences: religious, ethnic, color, and language. Xenophobia in America has always existed and had a multiform specificity because of its capacity to adapt itself to the specific people and specific region. However, we have noted that some people suffered more than others. Some of them benefited of more attention because of their dirtiness or laziness, such as the Mexicans, or the inability to integrate American culture and lifestyle, such as the Chinese. Historically, America has signed many treaties with China and not with the others. These treaties paved the road to all the political decisions towards Chinese immigrants. But the question is, why did the Chinese immigrants have treated almost differently all the time? And why did American authorities vote laws that would make more prejudice to Chinese? To find answers to this, we looked at economic issues concerned by immigration. The Chinese especially were a threat to American workers. We will see how the Exclusion Act of 1882 affected Chinese immigrants instead of the rest of the foreigners, and how did the xenophobic immigration system work during the American history.
Xenophobia has played a role in shaping human history for thousands of years. Many nations throughout the world have a history of xenophobic attitudes towards immigrants. Xenophobia is an extreme, intense fear and dislike of costumes, cultures, and people who are considered strange, unusual, or unknown. The term itself comes from Greek, where xenos means stranger or outsider, and phobos mean fear. In general, the fear of outsider tends to emerge from perceived threats to the in-group. This group could be a small family unit moving to a new neighborhood, or the group also could be a larger one, such as a town where most adults have lost their jobs and blame the immigrants, workers, for their poverty and their unemployment. Xenophobia is a learned response. If you grew up absorbing xenophobic ideas from your parents or other people you spend a lot of time with, you may be more likely to subscribe to these beliefs yourself. Xenophobic attitudes can also develop following trauma or crisis. Xenophobic beliefs and behaviors show up in multiple contexts across everyday life. The so-called melting pot of America is spiced with xenophobic attitudes, and it's possible to express xenophobia without outside hatred. You can be xenophobic without realizing it. For example, for sure you have said or thought one of the following lines before. Those clothes are so weird. She would fit in so much better if she just wear like an American. Or you might also have said, no way I'm going to your neighborhood after dark. There are way too many strange people lurking around. So this is it. You can be xenophobic without knowing it. Also, we have two primary types of xenophobia. The first type is cultural xenophobia. That involves rejection of objects, traditions, or symbols that are associated with other group or nationality. This can include language, clothing, music, and other types that are associated with culture. Immigrant xenophobia. This type involves rejecting people who the xenophobic individual who does not believe that he belongs to the in-group society. This can involve rejecting people of different religion and nationalities. There are a number of different factors believed to contribute to xenophobia. First, social economic insecurity. People often look for someone to blame in times of economic hardship or social upheaval. Immigrants and minorities are often the ones who are scapegoated as the cause of society's illness. Second, lack of contact. People with little or no contact with people from other countries, cultures, or backgrounds are more likely to be fearful or mistrustful of them. Third, media portrayals. The way immigrants and minorities are portrayed can also influence people's attitudes towards them. If they are only shown in a negative light, it can reinforce people's prejudices. Fourth, we have fear of strangers. In general, people are more likely to but it affects the entire society, including economics, politics, cultures, and even history. For instance, xenophobia in the United States of America appears in acts of discrimination and violence against Latins, Mexicans, and Middle Eastern immigrants.
A xenophobic nation is a country in which the government or a significant portion of the population exhibits fear or hatred of foreigners or people from other cultures. This may manifest in various forms of discrimination or exclusion, such as policies or practices that restrict immigration, deny equal rights or opportunities to certain groups, or perpetuate negative stereotypes about people from other countries or cultures. In contrast, a melting pot nation is a country that is characterized by cultural diversity and inclusivity, in which people from different backgrounds and cultures come together and integrate into a single society. This may involve the assimilation of certain cultural traditions or values, but it also involves the respect and acceptance of diversity, and the recognition of the contributions of different groups to the nation's culture and identity. Both xenophobia and melting pot nations can have both positive and negative consequences. Xenophobia can lead to conflict, discrimination, and social division, while a melting pot nation can foster harmony, understanding, and cooperation among different groups. However, it is important to recognize that the process of integration and assimilation can also be challenging and complex, and may involve the loss of erosion of certain cultural traditions or identities. It is important for a melting pot nation to find a balance between preserving cultural diversity and promoting a sense of unity and belonging among its citizens. The term shut-door policy refers to a policy or approach that involves closing or restricting access or entry to a particular place, group, or organization. It can be applied in various contexts, such as immigration, trade, or diplomacy. There is a potential for shut-door policies to be motivated by xenophobia, as they may be based on fear or mistrust of people from other countries or cultures. Shut-door policies may also contribute to or reinforce xenophobia, as they can create a sense of separation or isolation between different groups of people. In the context of immigration, a shut-door policy may refer to a government's decision to close its border to immigrants or refugees, or to significantly reduce the number of people allowed to enter the country. This can be done for a variety of reasons, such as to protect national security, to address economic or social concerns, or to preserve cultural traditions.
The Exclusion Act of 1882 was a starting point in the legalization of xenophobic immigration system. Chinese immigrants suffered xenophobia and rejection from American population. They were seen as a threat to the American culture and lifestyle because of their strange religion, their language, and even their haircut style. The American people could not understand why the Chinese immigrants live in crowded groups and accept lower wages. However, economic reasons did not suffice to vote laws against them, and national consensus made it possible. It was significant because the first federal law that restricts immigrants on the basis of race and social class included Chinese laborers from the country under penalty of imprisonment and deportation. It also made them permanent aliens by excluding them from the American citizenship. The act was initially intended to last for 10 years. However, it was renewed and strengthened in 1892 with Gary Act, to be made permanent in 1902. Diplomats, teachers, and students were exempted from this law. The passage of the act represented the outcome of years of racial hostility and anti-immigrant agitation by white Americans. Some of the reasons behind this act were preserving the ideals of U.S. homogeneity, placating American workers' demands, and assuage concerns about maintaining white racial purity.
Xenophobia can have negative and serious consequences for both individuals and society as a whole. It can lead to discrimination, violence, and social and economic inequalities. If you are looking for ways to address xenophobia in your community, here are some potential solutions. First, educate yourself and others about the history, cultures, and contributions of different groups of people. This can actually help to challenge stereotypes and prejudices that fuel xenophobia. Second, you can speak out against xenophobia whenever you see it. This can include standing up to derogatory comments or behaviors, or actively supporting organizations and initiatives that promote inclusivity and diversity. Get involved in your community. One way to do this is to volunteer with organizations that work to support and empower immigrants and refugees. Engage in cross-cultural exchange and dialogue. This can involve learning about and participating in the customs, traditions, and celebrations of other cultures, or even joining groups that promote cultural exchange and understanding. Also, seek support counseling if you are struggling with xenophobia. A mental health professional can help you to identify the root causes of your fears and prejudices and develop strategies for managing and overcoming them. Finally, remember that addressing xenophobia is a process that requires ongoing effort and commitment. It may be challenging at times, but by taking action and working towards a more inclusive and compassionate society, you can help to create a positive change.